Good morning. Thanks everyone for joining us. At least we know you're in a warm place and not fighting this crazy weather we're having. So, couple of housekeeping items before we start. We'll be placing everybody on mute because we are recording. And that way, for anyone who was unable to attend, they will be able to go online and get a copy of the recording. As a reminder, enter your company name, your name, and any other information about you in the chat box so everybody can get to know you because some of you have not met. And we'll stick to using the chat box if you have questions, or since it's such a small group, happy to have you just take yourself off of mute and speak away. So thanks for coming. And as many of you know, we've been doing these sessions since 2021 during COVID. I was just saying to Jody before we started this morning that I looked at the list on YouTube and we have over 30 videos out there with a variety of topics, anything from financial to uh, things about websites, all kinds of topics that people had asked for over the years. And it's a great we do an affiliate meeting every year. And that's one of our most popular ones. So please take the opportunity to join us and take a look at the videos. I'm amazed at how many people go out after the fact and take a look at them. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Jodie Lethgo of Career Driver, and she is one of our newest members of ILLBA. Thank you for that. We are happy to have you as a vendor
For
member.
having me, Paula.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Jody's going to talk to you today about simplifying your tasks for hiring by integrating AI into the process. So I'm going to let Jody introduce herself. She's going to chat, and you'll have the opportunity for questions. And oh, it's all yours.
Yeah. Thanks, Paula. Thank you for having me today. And thank you, everyone who's hopping in here. I do have a slide deck, so I'm going to share my screen with everyone.
Thank
And if you would like a copy of this, please pop your email in the chat, and I'd be happy to circulate it to everyone on the back of this.
Or if it's easier for you, we can actually, what we do is we send out a link to the recording after and we attach them. So whatever's easier for you.
Brilliant. So, I'm going to be talking about AI. And what we've done is we've tied AI into recruiting. So, just walking you through some ways during every step of the recruiting process, you can optimize or even automate your recruiting. Now, I hope that everybody can walk away with something here. I've done everything from a prompt for the new AI users to going a little bit further on in depth on how you can utilize it to upload resumes, rank those resumes, and help you to prioritize candidates over other candidates. Just as I'm going through this slide deck, there is a QR code. So I like to always pop a QR code in. If you scan that, it's just going to lead you to a form to submit your information to me. So in addition to the slide deck, I do have another document that goes a bit more in depth, gives a little more detail on the different tools that I like to use in my day to day, especially around recruiting. So if you scan that and send me your information, I'll be happy to send you that additional document as well as the slide deck. Now, since we're not in person, I can't get a show of hands on who is currently using AI. But while we were all popping into the meeting, had some chatter with everyone that was on. So it sounds like we do have some veteran users, but it sounds like we have some folks that are a little bit new to it as well. So, like I said, I hope I can cover off a little bit for everyone. For the sake of time, I've got half an hour. So some of these prompts, I'll just give you the prompt and then we'll just jump on through it. So some of this stuff I'll try to expedite, especially for you folks who are already familiar with these processes. Before we dive in, just quickly wanted to share a little bit about myself. My background is in marketing and in ground transportation. So I worked for Caesars Entertainment right out of college. From there, I ended up going to a trucking company. So Summit Trucking is located in Southern Indiana, about 150 trucks, about 500 trailers all over the continental US. my boss's side hustle was a chauffeur company. So Extreme Transportation's located in southern Indiana. They've got, at the time, they had about 50 vehicles. Today, they're at about 75, everything from sedans, SUVs, all the way to motor coaches. During my time there, I started out as the assistant to the guy that owned the companies. And by the time I left, I was the vice president of his transportation conglomerate. My time there, I was over safety and compliance. I was over our CDLA training school, and I was over our chauffeur fleet. And I was utilizing my internal recruiting department on the trucking side to recruit our drivers on the chauffeur side. And I would always have people asking me, how are you getting so many Class B drivers? How are you getting so many chauffeurs? And I'm over here just pretty ignorant, like, oh, just sending them over to my recruiting department because it's a very normal function in a trucking company. So I realized that not everyone had the resources to get the right candidates in their pipeline and to move those candidates quickly through the pipeline. So Career Driver was born in 2022. And today we work across chauffeur in CDL and non CDL, non emergency medical, taxi, TNC, and motor coach. We've got an office in the United Kingdom. We've got multiple offices in the US. We serve companies across the US, the UK, Canada, and Australia. And just to give you an idea of some chat GPT functions for those of you who aren't as familiar, I basically mind dumped my background and I said, create a profile for me I can use in a slide deck. So this was out of my head, but I used chat GPT to refine it. And I'll be sharing some other little things through here that I use chat GPT for as well. So just a little bit about how I use chat functions in my day to day outside of my recruiting and inside my day to day. So, Cliff Notes in a jiffy. I got sent a 40-page document on trends in the transportation industry in 2024. And someone was like, oh my gosh, have you seen this and all the trends? And rather than reading through this 40-page document, because it included a lot of trucking and a lot of train as well as passenger, I dropped it into Chat GPT. I said, summarize this and pull out the relevant points to the passenger ground transportation space. So within a matter of a minute, I was able to send it back and say, hey, this was great. Here's some cool key points, some things that stood out about the passenger transportation space, specifically the growth in motor coach in Q4, all the motor coaches that were being sold, but still the struggles that are happening in the passenger transportation space around insurance and drivers. But I don't have to tell any of you guys that because you're all living it. But another way that I like to utilize it is I'm very quick to reply to things. You've got chats going on in multiple places. You've got emails. So I'll send an email across and sometimes I think about it. I'm like, ooh, I was a little direct when I should have had a bit of a softer tone. So quite often after I type something, I'll just drop it into one of the chat bots and say, give me a nicer tone. Make this just a little bit more friendly. And lastly, one of my favorite uses is recipes. It's a great way to brainstorm and find new recipes. Just this past week, I cooked 3 new dishes that ChatGPT spit out for me. It even gave me a shopping list, so I knew what to get to make those dishes. So, but we're here to talk about recruiting. So I'm going to talk about, and just kind of a playbook here, what you can expect today as we go through this. Just going to introduce you to the recruiting funnel. I always like to think of recruiting as a funnel. Everything comes in the top, all the leads, and then everything filters down at the end. And those drivers that pop out are the ones that you're going to onboard. So, going to introduce you to the recruiting funnel and every step of that funnel. And then we're going to tie in some ways in which we can utilize AI. We're going to talk about the tools that are out there. There's tons of tools out there that you can use outside of ChatGPT. I'm going to share some practical tips just for those of you, especially who are a little bit more new to this. And then we're going to walk through the funnel and how we can implement AI into every step of the hiring funnel to help you optimize your recruiting. And lastly, we'll finish with some compliance that you should be aware of if you're going to be implementing any AI into your hiring and onboarding. And then I'll have an action plan.
Did everybody freeze? Oh, what happened? My God.
And then all of the ways in which we can implement AI. We lost the recording there for a minute, Paula.
Yeah, something happened to it. So sorry about that.
Yeah. So just AI tools, what's out there that you can use? I think everyone on here's heard of ChatGPT, and now DeepSeek is out there as well. Um, just so everyone's aware on here, ChatGPT, the free version does not allow you to upload documents. Now you can pay $20 a month for the premium version. I choose to do that because I'm a very active user of the chatbot. But there are some options for you on here that if you're not ready to pay that $20 a month, you can use Claude AI or Pop AI. Those are chatbots you can use where you can upload documents to do those analysis and to do the summaries. So you can utilize those. Some other favorites of mine are the meeting recording tools. They can summarize meetings after your meetings. MeetGeek is one myself and my team are big users of, big fans of. There's a new one out now called Claude Note AI, and it's an actual device that you can take into meetings, face-to-face meetings, and it does the same thing as a MeetGeek or a Fathom. Another favorite of mine is Microsoft Booking. It allows people to find time in my calendar and book with me. Good Time is another version of that. And then some other tools that are out there, HireVue. It's an AI-driven interviewing a bot. And it just basically what it does is at the end of the interview, it gives you a summary on how well it thinks that person is going to do in that role. And it gives you notes on that person's behavior and how they behaved in an interview. Now it's only virtual, but still a pretty good tool. There's also some AI assessment games to gauge people's skill set for particular jobs. And there's phone monitoring software out there as well. We're actually working on building a phone monitoring software that's going to gauge how our recruiters are doing on the line. And it's going to grade them. Did they introduce themselves? Did they introduce the role? Did they go through this requirement, and this requirement? And then it gives active feedback to our recruiters so they'll know how to improve. But there's already tech out there
Hi, Denver, can
that
I
would
help
be
you?
good for you guys to implement into your customer service.
Okay, did you have any problem on our website? We have all prices
Paula,
listed.
would you mind to mute?
I
Thank
did.
you. Thanks,
Sorry.
Paula.
Yeah, no problem.
Just just some tips for those of you who are a bit more new to using chatbots. Be very specific and always you can refine. Whatever it spits out is not the final output. So you can go back to it as many times as you want. Now, these chatbots, they do know a lot. So you'll be surprised at how much they're able to spit out, but you still need to be specific. And we'll go through some examples on that. One thing that I really like to do is always use the same chat to build on information and output multiple documents. And the way this would work well for you guys in optimizing your hiring process is they're going to create a job description in that same chat. You're going to have an output for a job post in that same chat. You can then go on and ask for some interview questions that you can use in your interview. And then the one thing I do want to point out is ChatGPT is not Google. Now, if you're paying for the upgraded version, it does talk to the web. So it can go out there and find information on the web, but the output's going to be very different on Google versus on ChatGPT. So for those of you, again, who are a bit more new to this, I always like to start you with, here's a prompt. Use this as your cheat. Act like a insert role, create a insert task, and then output it as this format. And I've given a table here. And what I did is I went to Claude AI and I said, this is my prompt. What kind of ways can people do this? Output it as a table. So it output this table for us. So some examples here, act like an admin assistant, schedule a meeting, and output it as a calendar entry. So I can just drop it into my calendar. Act like an HR manager. draft an employee review, output it as a Word document, or just output the text for me, and so on and so on. But we'll go through some very specific examples in here of how we can implement that. So now we're going to jump into going through this actual hiring funnel and then how we can use different AI tools every step of the way. So I'm going to start with driver leads. And I recommend doing some market research and creating a job description so you can get the right leads in front of you. So one of the things I love to do, especially in going into a new market, is just doing some quick market research. So using our prompt, we're going to act like an HR manager. We're going to do market research. So we're going to do market research for a chauffeur role in Chicago, Illinois. And I said I wanted to see some stats on who the potential target candidates would be for this role. And then I said, definitely give me some salary information and how I can draw people in to my job. What would give me a competitive advantage? So this was the output that I received. So there's a little bit of market research for you folks in Chicago here. I don't know how this aligns to what you guys are actually seeing, but this is what it's output from the website. Paula, do you think this looks about in line with what you're seeing?
For people that are hiring W-2, yeah, I would say so. Art does more hiring on the W-2 side, but yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what it's output to me is hospitality staff, tourism workers are going to be a great fit for this role. These are people that typically are going to have a high school diploma, and then it's giving a salary range of what it's seen in your market, and then it's giving some other ways in which you can attract some folks to these roles. So just replying into that same chat there, then we're going to ask it to write us a job description. So we're going to act like a hiring manager and we're just going to use, for example, a CDLB job description. So, and I always like to give as much information as possible so it can give me the right output. So we definitely want to have a passenger endorsement and an airbag endorsement. All I said was give me some unique points like our great culture and our full-blown benefits. And my CDLB drivers hypothetically are making $80K a year. So again, this is all fictional, and here's what it output for me. So it gave me a lot of detail that I didn't tell it. It's even gone as far as giving me what some of those responsibilities are and some of the compliance related things that are involved in this. And just keep in mind that ChatGPT has been educated for years now. So it's been taught a lot of stuff about what the DOT compliance is. It's been taught a lot about what is going to be required in these chauffeur roles. And you're going to see that output here. Now, if you see something that's missing, just reply back and ask it to add it, such as your company name or your company location, your website. Or if it's too long, ask it to shorten this. If there's things in here that you're like, that doesn't quite fit, because it has made a lot of assumptions here. We didn't say that they need to ensure the limo bus is stocked with necessary amenities for the passengers, which I'm sure is one of your duties, but we didn't tell it that. So if there's things in here that don't quite fit, just tell it to omit those bits. So, and then moving on here, I'm going to kind of jump through creating a compelling job ad because we've just done the prompt exercise. And then we'll jump into summarizing resumes because that's one of my favorite features or favorite functions. So creating the job ad, I just want to point out here, just giving it the output. I'm telling this that I want this for social media channels and I want this for job boards. So we're not going to create something with that full-blown job description. We want to create something, especially for social media, that's going to have more of a shorter output and it's going to draw someone in. So, and I've told it to do that, make a concise ad and create a clear call to action. That's the other thing is if I'm going to be putting something out there, I want someone to have a call to action. So those were the key things that I wanted to make sure to output in my job ad. So the output that it's giving me is a short, concise ad, just like I'd asked for. Now, it put those emojis on. I didn't even ask for it to put those on there, but it wanted to create something that was a bit more compelling. So I like that it immediately put earn up to 80K a year. I highlighted that earlier in my chat. And again, if we're replying back to the same chat, it's going to keep pulling that same information out. And then just a couple other ways in which you can use this is if you're looking for multilingual drivers, you can also output this in another language. So just another way you could use it. And then make sure that you've got that call to action down at the bottom. It's got a space there for me to insert the link to my job application or to a lead gen form. So let's say you've put this out on Indeed. Let's say you've put this job out on Meta and you've got people replying to you. So now you've got 50 resumes in front of you. So you start picking up the phone, you start calling 50 people. Well, that's normally what you would do. But what you can do is you can drop these resumes into either ChatGPT if you're using the premium version or Claude AI. So what you can do is ask it to summarize those resumes for you. And then what you can say is, okay, so now of these resumes, I want to create criteria and metrics in which these folks are going to be graded against. And then what I want to do is I want to start ranking these folks. And either I'm going to rank them so I know who my standout folks are, or I ask it to rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. So it's whatever you want it to output. But if you've got 50, I would say rank them. And then for that top half, then let's go in and give them a rating of 1 to 5 and start with those top priority resumes and start calling on those folks. So moving on to screening the candidates. So let's say of your 50 resumes, now you're down to about 5 solid candidates. So of those 50, we whittled it down to 25 that actually met our hiring criteria. Of those 25, we ranked them. We called the top 10. We've got 5 interviews now. Now I know that's an ideal world. Hypothetically, let's say we've got 5 interviews. So for those interviews, we're going to want to be screening those candidates thoroughly. So how can we optimize our screening? Well, you can create a bank of interview questions. And keep in mind, it's not always going to be you that schedules these. So making sure that your interview is something that someone else can pick up and conduct the same quality interview. So create an SOP that has those interview questions in it. And then you can automate the interview scheduling as well by allowing people to book in when you're available. And then we can summarize those interviews. And then again, we could use a chat bot to grade how those interviews went. So just going to quickly fly through creating a bank of interview questions. Now you can see here, I did give a lot more detail here because I really wanted to be specific and ask for situational questions. And for most chauffeur roles, the barrier to entry is, do you have the license? So I want to say that they must also have that valid driver's license. They must have this clean driving record in addition to just the basic stuff. And the situational stuff needs to be geared towards customer service. That's the big thing is, outside of the basic hiring criteria, we want to gauge how well their customer service skills are, especially if we're interviewing non-CDL people as well. So from that prompt, it gave me, I think, 25 questions. So I picked the top 5. But because you can't always be the one to interview that. I think these are great to have on hand to create a standard operating procedure. So you have a unified way of conducting those interviews and to optimize that interview process to allow other folks in your office to go through and screen for those same questions. And then what you could even do is you could have one of these chatbots create some sort of, while you're interviewing, grading scale to help you measure the responses from these folks. But what you can do is use some kind of summarizing tool, such as MeetGeek, if it's going to be a virtual interview, or Plot AI, if it's going to be a face-to-face interview, so it can summarize those interviews for you. But before we do that, just to help with scheduling interviews, if someone else is picking up the phone for you or trying to coordinate those interviews, set up a booking link so you can automate the bookings of it. I hate nothing more than the back-to-back between a recruiter and an on-site hiring manager to get someone in front of them. And I think everyone on here knows how critical it is to move people through the hiring pipeline as quickly as possible, because the longer they sit in that pipeline, the quicker they're going to fall out. So to expedite this and move things along any way in which you can optimize your bookings. So whether it's the candidate booking themselves in, which I know in the real world isn't always the case, but it might be that someone in your office is helping to book interviews in for you. And you can optimize that by creating some sort of meeting link where people can go and book directly in your calendar based on what your availability looks like. So for the actual interviews, so there's a lot of really great virtual meeting maker note takers out there. Like I said earlier, MeetGeek is one that I really like, but there's a new one out there called Plot AI that I'm looking to integrate and start using. So the cool thing about Plot AI is it actually has physical devices, so you can use them in any face-to-face meetings and face-to-face interviews in your guys' case. So I think the device on the screen here might be a couple $100, but the added value to me seems like it would be worth it. So I'm going to look at investing in one of these. They also have the Plot AI Note. It's a mini version of it that you can basically clip onto something that you're wearing. The only thing that I think is very important if you're going to be utilizing any of these tools, whether it's a virtual environment or it's an in real life environment, is just letting those folks know that they're being recorded and just being respectful of their privacy. Um, and then for post interview, for the transcriptions and the summaries, all of these tools out there, MeetGeek, Fathom, Plot AI, depending on your settings, you can actually get a full transcript of these. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have time to go through and read a full transcript of a meeting I've been in or an interview I've been in. But it's nice to know it's there should you ever need to go back and reference it. The real value here is the summary that it'll give you. And then if you've just completed those 5 interviews, again, this is our ideal world. I know that's not real life, but if those 5 people actually came in and you interviewed those 5, we could plug them in and say, rate these against my criteria. How well is this person going to fit based on these situational questions that I've asked this person? And then lastly, just a couple ways in which you can use AI for converting those folks. And maybe that's converting them into an actual driver, but it might also be rejecting a potential driver. And then a use case for retention. So just going to fly through more of these prompts here, just some ideas and ways you can use these chat bots is a pre-interview prep. So just outputting an email to send to someone to prep them for the interview. I can't stand it when someone shows up for an interview and they're not suited up for the role they're applying for. So I'm going to send an email to that candidate ahead of time. And believe it or not, I've had candidates show up to a driving job without a driver's license. So I'm going to make sure to tell them, wear a black suit, bring your driver's license. Here's the Google map address to our office location. You need to park here in visitor parking and then use this gate code to get in, ask for Jodie at reception. So giving people those notes ahead of time. And so I can also see how well they're paying attention to those notes I'm giving them. A rejection email, want to make sure that it is short and simple and to the point that unfortunately we're not going to be moving forward with you in this role. Or the one that I hope we're going to be sending out a lot of is that offer letter to that person. So that offer email. And then just really quickly, some ways in which you can use this for retention. So employee satisfaction survey questions. I know we don't have a lot of time to go back and talk to folks, but hopefully with tools like this, we can start to do those kind of things. Creating policies, just making sure that they're compliant with your state and local laws, and then implementing those. And then just something you should all be aware of is just the compliance around AI. Just making sure that you're disclosing to the candidates that you're using AI to screen those folks. If that's in person, make sure you're verbally telling them, I'm turning on this meeting note taker just to summarize our interview today, but also including it in your privacy policy on your website and then letting the candidates know throughout the process. Now, where you really have to be careful is with the EEOC policies. So they're already starting to crack down in New York, and they're already starting to crack down and say that you can't use AI to make those hiring decisions. So although we can use it to rank people, although we can use it to grade people, don't say to the chatbot, which one of these folks should I hire? We can't use it to make those hiring decisions. So it's a resource for us, but it's not the decision maker for us. And then, I think we're going to be right on time here, Paula. We've got about
Yeah,
5 minutes left.
no
So,
problem.
action plan for you guys. So, basically, we're just going back to that original hiring funnel that I presented in the beginning and ways in which you can implement AI in every step of that hiring funnel. So, for your driver leads, helping you do the market research, writing that job description, in that same chat, creating that compelling job ad, and then we'll go in and we'll upload those resumes and try to rank them. And then once we get those folks in front of us, we'll be able to have other folks in our office do the interviews because we'll have an SOP for those interview questions. They'll be able to book interviews in with me through automated scheduling. On the back of that, we'll be able to quickly summarize those interviews and we'll be able to see which one of those candidates we want to move forward with. And we'll be able to send out those email notices to reject or to accept them, hopefully. So, and with that, guys, that is AI throughout the recruiting funnel. Now, I do want to share that there was a lot of artwork that was throughout this presentation, and it was all created by DALL-E. So it's OpenAI's image creation bot. You can use it right inside ChatGPT, but interestingly enough, for every single one of these, I told ChatGPT, I think this original one here, I told it to create an image of itself. I said, create an image of yourself, how you
I
see
love it.
AI. So interesting that it thinks itself as a human figure.
I love
So
it.
I just asked for it to create other iterations of that throughout this presentation. So yeah, every time there seemed to be a bit of a human form going on, which I found very interesting. But yeah, it is impressive that it was able to do that. And then I just replied back and I said, okay, create it as a thank you. Now create it as a Q&A. So
There
here
you
we
go.
are. We are on Q&A. So, and with that, I just want to open it up to everyone here. How's everyone on here utilizing it in their day to day that I missed? Does anyone else have any insights to share? I know there was a few users on here.
Yeah, she did ask you at the beginning before everybody jumped on.
Uh-huh.
We we've used it to make cell phone Chris is up here with me. Cell phone policies,
Brilliant.
so, using it to summarize documents, as a chauffeur,
Mhm.
our chauffeur manual. We took our chauffeur manual and we uploaded our chauffeur manual and told it to create test questions for the manual and that worked out
Love
well.
it.
So we're just starting to use it. Seems like you've got a lot more information on how to use it, the ways that it can be used. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool what you were able to do there, Art, uploading your chauffeur manual and then creating some tests around it. That's brilliant.
I
That's a
did,
really good use of
I
it.
didn't do that. My son did it, but it was brilliant that it happened. I mean, it just like it took seconds, and next thing you know, we've got a test that we can give to people that just went through them.
So
It
cool.
was like we gave them the manual and says, okay, we went through the manual and then we said, okay, study it a little bit, look it over, created a test, and test wasn't that hard because everybody passed.
Right. You
Cool,
know,
Art. It wasn't because it was easy,
Yeah.
we
you,
hope.
But
you
in
know,
this case, it assured us that they did read it and go over it. So
sure.
whether they
Yeah.
passed it or not, it's kind of like you give it to them and you say, okay, go over this. You don't know if they did or not. And
Yep.
this kind of let us know that they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's an awesome use. That's a really great use. And then when it comes time to update those policies, you can have it revise and update those policies.
Right.
But like I tell everyone, it's not a lawyer. It's not someone that's an expert in DOT compliance. So you probably still want it to get looked over, but it sure is a nice little shortcut to add in new policies. Add in a cell phone policy, add in a hands-free policy. If you've just implemented cameras, that would be a good use, is putting in a policy on it's 3 strikes and you're out. If we see you doing something, or we get trigger warnings for things that you're doing that we've seen on cameras. So yeah, it's a
I
great
think
way to just quickly add in new policies to that handbook as well.
I do think we used it to generate DOT hire sheet. And it was
Yeah,
actually pretty good. It came back with a
it
lot of
is.
information you know, that was very useful.
Yeah. So now you can also use it for the road test. So when you send a driver out with that person, they can have a sheet that's been generated on the road test. So I've done this before with another client, and
Yeah.
we created a road test and it had a grading scale. So it actually output numbers. And then at the end of it, it was a pass or fail. And it was documented, it was there. Obviously it's just quick to add into the DQ file.
So how would you create that on a chat? How would you do it? I mean,
So I would act like a DOT safety compliance manager for a motor coach company, because you're probably screening in this instance for a DQ file. You're screening a class B driver. And I would say create a cheat sheet, not a cheat sheet. I would say create a written test, or not a written test, but trying to think of how to say, I want to create a grading sheet for someone who's going to administer a driver driving road test. The things you're going to want to see is, I want to see this person back up safely. I want to see this person. Let's say we have to parallel park a lot in Chicago. So let's say we want to see this person parallel park. We're going to create a route that's X number of miles. And here's the things we want to look out for, is we want to look out for this, 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 and this. And I can send you what the output was, because it was scarily impressive. Art really was, because I thought of things I didn't
we
even
have
think
one
of.
that we do. I mean, we'll actually take them into the city and have them make right turns from Michigan Avenue to,
Yes. Well, that's one thing that this did. So I'm glad you said that, because it said, did they make these right turn? It called out right turns,
yeah, like
and there was a
see how
numerical grade to it.
right, see how they work around or act around
Yes.
passengers.
Yes. Yeah, it was really impressive. And it went through the pre-trip and post-trip inspections, and there was a grade that could be given based on how well they went through those steps. And then at the side there was just numbers that were calculated. You tally that all up, and then that number is just a pass or fail.
So Jody, I'll see you in the show, but what are you actually doing now? When we talked before, you were primarily just doing chauffeur recruitment. It seems
Yeah,
like you've
so
gone a little bit further. Actually,
yeah,
a lot
so
further.
so the one thing where I say I won't do anything is that I'm not managing compliance, ongoing compliance. It's all revolving around getting driver leads in the pipeline. So getting driver leads in and moving those leads through the onboarding process.
Right.
So we've got that team of recruiters that can work for our folks. We've come up with a more cost efficient way of getting those folks embedded into our clients' companies. So we call them our business process outsourcing agents, is what we call them, instead of calling them recruiters. So they can help with every step of the collecting the MVRs, collecting the background checks. And we've got a lot of clients where they have to pass some sort of screening ahead of time. For you guys, it's probably that chauffeur license. For our
Mhm.
non-emergency clients, they have to go through CPR training. They have to go through certain trainings to be certified as an EMT driver. So helping move those people through everything revolving around onboarding. So yeah, we do have a much more robust offering that's more cost efficient, effective, and we charge hourly for the time that our agents spend working for our clients, and that's either 20 hours a week or 40 hours a week.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, I'd be happy to tell you a bit more about it. And for anyone else on here who'd like to know more about driver lead generation and those agents of ours that can help you with your screening, hiring, and onboarding, pop me an email. I'd love to schedule a time. Or if you're going to be in Vegas, pop over to our booth. We've got a booth on the show floor. we're going to be career driver and conversion interactive agency. So our former digital marketing company, our sister company, was purchased by Conversion Interactive Agency. It's the largest digital marketing and driver recruiting agency in the Class A trucking space. So we're now backed by the Conversion.
Great.
But yeah, if anyone would like to get a copy of this and then get that additional document that I've created, scan this QR code or just drop your email into the chat and I'd be happy to send it over to you. But I'll be in Vegas, so come by, say hi as well.
It's funny you're talking about the note taking and making sure you notify the person. I just went for my doctor's appointment last week, and it was the first time the nurse came in and said, "You, she's using a special." They didn't say AI. They said she's using a special tool to collect notes these days. Are you okay if she turns on the computer? And I'll, yeah. And I knew it was AI at that point, but I thought it was really funny because it's the first time I've gone to a doctor's appointment and actually had them say, "I'm taking notes," and they want your verbal approval. So,
Wow, that's the
yeah.
first time I've heard of a doctor using an AI note taker. That's fascinating. Makes
Yeah, I thought it
sense.
was really fascinating. She caught me off guard there for a few seconds, but I can see that streamlining that process as well because
Yeah.
the visit, the corresponding with the doctor and all that, and that it definitely has its merit. But as I was listening to you, because I came from technology and had to interview engineers, and I thought about how wonderful it would have been even like 15 or 20 years ago that we would have been able to take those resumes because back in the day people wrote 4-page resumes. I know you don't think people, yeah, engineers used to write the story of their lives, and to be able to take that and run it through something and say, pull out what this is the qualifications I'm looking for.
Summarize it. Does it do
Yeah,
they meet
get
my
rid of all, yeah,
qualifications? Yeah.
get rid of the
Get rid of the junk.
McDonald's and all the stuff that was on there. Yeah, I mean, this is great
Yeah.
stuff. And I think no matter what size operators we have in the room, they can take something from this and hopefully streamline their process to make it work better. But yeah, it gave me a lot of
At
ideas
least you
too.
got something out of it. And I hope everyone else did as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I could
So
also
Paula, you're gonna put this video, the recording up
it'll,
online?
yes, it'll be online. And Jody will give me a copy of the slide. So, and
Love you.
I'll be coming by to steal your road test again because that's where I got my road test. So you work on it
Okay.
first, and then we'll
No,
jump in. No,
I'll
just
send
kidding.
it to you. I'll
No?
send it to you, Paula.
Yes, thank you. I
And
think
then
this is
Art, I don't think I have your email. I'll send it over to you as well. And I'll actually send you what the prompt was as well, Art. So
Okay,
I did at your last ILBA show.
hmm
I was part of Tom Holden's DOT compliance, and my little
yes.
section was how you can use AI to help manage your DOT compliance. So I'll send you that one as well, Art,
okay.
because it gives you some prompts and some ways you can utilize it. And I think the road test examples in there
Oh
actually.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to
that's
that.
something I think, I mean, it's good to have, but I think anybody that's using it needs to tailor it to their market.
Yeah.
Our biggest thing is, driving around pedestrians,
Oh yeah.
the safety
Yeah.
and things we need to do in that area and, getting on the highway, changing lanes and just whole.
Yeah, no, that's a great shout, Art. And so working that into the situational interview questions, how is your situational awareness in metropolitan areas and working in some sort of question, but also working it into the road test. How did they do at the crosswalks? How did they do here and here? Yeah, I think that is a great shout.
Yeah, we had bike lanes because we have so many in our towns, and now they have flashing lights. So we added bike lanes to it, and we're trying to find areas where we can check that too. So I mean, yeah, I think having the opportunity to feed something in and then see if there's other aspects of the
Right.
driving that you've missed could be really valuable. Um,
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody does this testing when you're hiring. I just did for office staff.
mhm.
Chat GPT was amazing and it was spot on. I'm not kidding. Like it said, this person will not pay close attention to detail. And oh my God, yes. So if anybody does this texting, we do for office staff and reservationists because they have to have certain criteria. It is really spot on. And if you want them to upsell, whatever you want them to do, it'll tell you if they're dominant, if they're not. And it was very good. So that's another tip for whoever's hiring office staff, especially, but even the chauffeurs, sometimes we do want them to upsell and we're starting to train in that. So that helps too if you do this training.
Oh, that's brilliant. And I talked about it a little bit, but there's also the call analytics out there. There's like CallWorks, and there's another couple out there. And Conversion has one that we're implementing internally for our recruiters. But it's really cool because every single call gets a score. And it's, every single call that connected. And then we set what the criteria is. And for you guys, it's if it was a wedding, was there an upsell there? Did they talk about a getaway car? Did they talk about a bachelor party? Did they talk about a bachelorette party? Did they talk about these things? And you can customize and tailor it to help train those customer service reps. And the cool thing I've seen is it's giving immediate feedback. So, whoever's working there on the phone, they are getting a scorecard immediately. And it's like, why didn't you state your name at the beginning of this call? Why didn't you ask this person what their, drop off time was? Why didn't you ask this? So it'll give them that immediate feedback. And then you'll have a real quick and easy tool to see who's struggling and who's succeeding.
But what do
It's scary how
they
detailed
integrate
this
it?
stuff is getting.
Yeah, they integrate it with your phone system and
Yes, it integrates with the phone system. So the one we're working to integrate integrates directly into our Ring Central.
That's what I was just going to ask you because Ring
Okay.
Central has AI now, which is amazing, and the notes and all the good stuff. But that's what we need. We need what you just said.
Yeah. Well, it's only a matter of time before we roll it out to outside users as well.
yeah, it's I don't know. It's I can see a lot of benefit in it, but I could see where you'd have a lot of upset employees with it just going on. I mean, just where you're telling them, I don't know, I'd have to see how it works.
I don't think you're replacing your sense of judgment and your instinct.
No, what it's
These are
doing
just tools
is
to help you.
it's grading the people that you have answering your phones,
Right.
which is actually a good thing.
We've been- Mhm.
But depending on how it's implemented, it could be a bad thing too.
Like they feel micromanaged.
Yeah, I mean, in a big way.
Yeah, you do have to be very tactful about how you implement it because
I
then it is
swear
we're
on the
setting
phone.
you up to succeed.
And you also have to incentivize them along with it because I know I remember when we put a call system in Boston years ago, it was like you say, they felt like they were being micromanaged because there was this big ass screen on the wall, and it would say how many minutes per call, and there'd be a supervisor walking around. We had to back off of those things. So that's why I say, like that these are tools to use and to integrate, but you have to have a sense of how's that, like you say, it could make people upset. We had Gumby Awards. We put a Gumby doll on everybody's desk who got off the customer call in like less than 10 minutes. Because health insurance calls are very deft. But so you'd walk in the office on Monday, supervisors would have Gumbies on their, whoever did really good on their average calls, average speed to answer. And I was like, oh, look at that, lots of Gumbies sitting on the desk. And it was, for those of you who don't know what a Gumby is, it's one of those flexible dolls that, you bend and everything. And so we made it kind of fun. And that was before all of this. I mean, so there's ways to, I think we just have to be creative on how we make it work and make sure that we haven't left the human element out and we still, this is not saying don't, nobody should be flying blind and just saying, it's okay, oh, this is what it says and therefore it is.
Jody, are you integrating this for your customers? Or is this just for you that you're doing it?
And this is just for us. This is just how we're using it internally. But our clients don't take the full-blown funnel off of us. Either we just start with the top of funnel leads or we can move them down a bit further. So it's something that I recommend, even if you're only using us for a part here, here, and here. here's some ways you can optimize the rest of your funnel. Because it obviously works in my benefit if our clients have a setup to be successful in their onboarding and recruiting.
Right. Yeah, I just
So,
want all your ideas.
And that is what we did today. Are there any other questions for Jody today? Jody, you're welcome to stay. I'm just spending a minute updating these guys on some other stuff, but thank you so much for your time today.
for
Thank
having me. I appreciate
Now,
it.
we'll all see you in
Thank you,
Vegas.
Jody.
Yeah,
Yes, I will see everyone in Vegas, hopefully.
excellent.
See you there.
All right. So for the rest of you, I just have a couple of updates. In the next 24 hours or so, you will be getting, if you're in Chicago, you'll be getting an email from us. The city has, after 6+ years, almost 9 years, they're updating the ordinance rules and regulations for transportation. So we've been asked to provide comment on the rewritten rules. I'm going through right now so that I can make it a little easier for everyone because it's taxi and limo. You don't need to comment on taxi because it doesn't affect us. And they have already approved the fees. So basically, we're left with the actual rules, and they would like some comments from us in the by next week. So I'd appreciate if everyone could spend it. I mean, I went through them, but I know the rules because we teach them every week. But I want to be sure that you all have a chance to read them. And obviously, if you have if there's anyone with questions or comments, we can actually set up a Zoom call if people would like to walk through them before they, if they see something they're not comfortable with. But I've only looked at them real quick, and we haven't seen anything too significant, but they have been rewritten. So, and if you haven't seen already, the fees have gone up for licensing. So for the chauffeur licenses, we went from $20 every 2 years to 40. I think the replacement licenses are now 40 as well if they lose their chauffeur license. And I think those were the main ones. There are some other fines and stuff in there, but I haven't finished going through them. So I'll be sending that out either first thing end of day today or first thing tomorrow. And I'd like to see what else everybody thinks. And that's the main thing I wanted to mention today.
What about the security guards?
The security guards are only required now if you have alcohol on board. And that's been changed already. That changed in 21, all right?
Yeah, I
2021.
didn't know if they
Yeah.
were updating that at all.
I will look. I scanned, like I said, I just skimmed it I did the first pass of it because I look at taxi too because I'm supposed to know taxi as well. So I was like, it's about that thick. So but that's why I want to go through and just note the stuff for limo.
Actually, that's something to look at again, because I know they were talking about lightening up definition of a security guard. If they could be an employee. And what happens is the city will make changes to these ordinances and sometimes they don't tell us.
Yeah, but this time
And
they
I
are.
kind of read it and maybe even look for a loophole in it.
Yeah, I mean, for us, right, it's like, we're taking all these corporate clients and they bring their drinks on board from the convention.
Yeah,
It's
you know what?
it's gray area. We don't really do it,
I
but
probably shouldn't say this, but yeah, we don't really worry about that. I mean, if we've got somebody that's going out and they're, going to be in the city and actively have liquor on the bus, then it's a concern. But other than
of
that,
course,
Yeah,
and I don't think there's any enforcement going on anymore.
there
Anyways,
hasn't been. That's kind of the issue too. But that's
Well,
only right now. We don't know if that's going to change or not.
see,
So
we don't need them to monitor it for us. I mean,
no.
good operators don't have the issue. What happens is you get these idiots out there that cause all the problems.
yep.
Yeah.
But we'll have like security company where the guy doesn't show up, so then we just assume, hey, we have the invoice from the company showing that he was supposed to be here.
I think that's good.
It
Yeah,
is what it is.
that would be important to have. But I didn't see too much. So like I said, I'm going to send it out shortly, and then if everybody could take a quick look, and if you have questions or if there's enough questions, I'm happy to set up a call. But they have not updated these since 2016, so they really went to town and and did a lot on the taxi more so
You know
than
what,
normal.
while she's asking us for comments on the chauffeur
Hmm.
regulations, maybe we should add that, and see if we can get them to lighten up a little bit on it.
On the security guard,
Yeah,
then we'll have to put something together to tell her what we're looking
I
for. So
I
take a
think
look
it's
at.
reasonable to say if you have wraparound seating with alcohol, then you can have a security guard. If it's row style, I don't think it's necessary. I that's what I would say is a nice happy medium because it's usually corporate if you're shuttling people.
Mhm.
Then it helps most of us. The party bus guys are the ones that end up creating the issues for the most part. The larger players don't, but the smaller guys, the one-off operators with limo buses are the one with the issues. It's never row style buses that have issues.
actually, you know what's funny, Kevin? Because actually the ones with the issues are typically non-licensed operators.
Right.
They're out
Yeah,
on the outside, running a motorhome as a limo bus. I mean, they're just
yeah.
like,
RV plates. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been
totally
seeing that
unlicensed
too.
operators. I mean, you could look at the bus probably on the street and know it's a problem.
100%.
I think the only time we've ever put alcohol in a van it would be in a cooler in the middle. And oh, by the way, we did to explain to everybody about state lines too. Remember, there was that conversation about if I'm coming from Indiana where they don't have any issue with alcohol, what to do. So we did get at some point we had multiple discussions with Rupel about it, and basically, if I recall, we what came up was okay, when they get to the state line, when they get to the city limits, they have to put it away. Now, we couldn't get her to say with 100% certainty that if it was put away, that if we got boarded, there wasn't going to be an issue. Um, but but I think it was even another operator who said, "Well, we have a container in the back and they can't get to it, so that should be sufficient."
I,
So,
I would argue that whether you're coming on over the state lines or whatever the hell you're doing, you could be coming from Schaumburg to Chicago. So state lines shouldn't apply to that. If she's gonna say, you know what, just put it away, you come from Elmwood Park into Chicago, you just put it away and you're fine.
well, yeah, I think the put away part. Well, yeah, because we had that problem with the security guards for some of these folks because anyone that was out of state would have to stop and meet somebody at the city limits to get a security guard.
I
And there
mean,
were several operators
well,
doing that.
they even go as far as saying if you're a DOT operator, if you're operating under FMCSA regulations, it doesn't apply because there's levels of service that are out there that companies that just aren't gonna have these issues.
No, yeah,
It's worth a discussion if they're looking at everything right now.
I think so.
okay. So I'll get that out ASAP, and then if we have to uh, have a conversation with them, we can set something up. Uh, like I said, I do know the fines are non-negotiable, or anything in there that's related to fees, but because apparently City Council makes that decision and they don't ask us, would we like them to raise the fee? So other than that, everything else is fair game. Okay, that's all I have today. Anybody have any questions? I want to thank everybody for coming today. I
I
hope
went to the paint store to get thinner. It didn't work.
for what?
Paula, you're too thinking too deep about that. I went to the paint store to get thinner. It didn't work.
Oh, I get it. Uh, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't have much coffee yet. Thank you, everybody. The recording will be on our YouTube channel in the next day or so.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Paula.
Paul.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
great
Bye,
day.
All
everyone.
right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.